Hello and welcome to this session. In the last session, we have created our project so that we can start testing with rest assured. In this session, we will create our first test, and step number one is we will go to our project that we created in the last session, and we are going to create a class inside our project. So I will go on Eclipse, and here is the project that we created in the last session. I will expand this, and here you can see we have different folders. We have src main java, src main java resources, src test java, and src test resources. So I will go to src test java, do a right click, new, and first I will create a package, and I will name this package as tests. You can name it anything, and these packages are for easy categorization and organization of our files inside the project. So I will say finish, and you can see the tests package is created here. I will also create another package. I will say new and create a package called demo. This I'm just creating whenever I have to do some rough work or I have to just test something, I can put it here. So I'm going to create a class inside the tests package, and just in case you see a different view, you see a nested folder structure, that is fine. You may be in Project Explorer or some other view, that is fine. So if I just click here on this search button and I say Project Explorer, so you can see we have a Project Explorer as well. So if I see the Project Explorer and if I go to the same project, we can see a little different view here. So that is fine. You can use a Project Explorer or a Package Explorer. And under the tests package, now I am going to create a new class. I will do a right click here and say new, and I will say class, and I will say this is test 1, or I can name it anything. I am just saying this is test 1, or I will just say this is tests examples. So I'm going to create some tests here. Now here, if you want to create a main method, you can check this, but as of now we are going to create a test ng test, so I will keep all this unchecked and say finish. So here we have our class. Let me increase the font. I am pressing Ctrl plus on my keyboard to increase the font. If you are on Mac, you can press Command S. So here we have our class created and we have done step number 1. Step number 2 is we will create a function and do an annotation with testng at test method. Now before I do that, just in case you are completely new to Java, you can go on my website automationstepbystep.com, and here you can go to Java. Under the programming section you will find a course on Java, and this will take you to the YouTube playlist where I have a Java beginners course, and here you can see some examples like how to create first Java program and some more topics on object oriented programming. So you will see some object oriented programming topics here, and this will help you in case you are completely new to Java. So I have to create a function. To create a function, I will say public and void, this is the return type, and I will give a function name. So let us say I will say this is test underscore 1. You can give any name to the function, and brackets, and a curly bracket start and a curly bracket stop. Let me also show you in a full screen mode. So this is a function and this is the range of the function. Anything I write between these curly brackets will be the body of the function. So you can save this using the save button or press Ctrl S on your keyboard. And now I will create some test. So I have to do, let us say we have to run a get request. And for that, let me take some examples online. I will go to Google and search for REST API for testing. Now in the coming sessions, I will also show you how you can create your own REST API and how you can host it on a local system on your local server, and then how to use them. But as of now, just for starting, let me go and take some public REST API. So here we have this website reqres.in, and here they have some fake REST API that we can use for testing. And here you can see we have all these get, post, put, delete, patch requests. I will go to this list users, which is a get request, and here is the endpoint. If I click on this, it opens and gives me the response that I should get when I run this API, and this is the URL. So I have to give this URL endpoint. So in my function I will say rest assured. So rest assured is a class, and here I'm getting an error because I have not yet imported it. If I hover over this, let me say I can say rest, and without completing the word I can press Control spacebar on my keyboard so that it gives me auto suggestions. And here you can see I'm going to take it from this rest assured io.rest assured, and this should be available if we have already added the libraries and jars in our project that we did in the last session. So I'm going to use this rest assured. You can also see the import is done here, and then I will say dot, and here you can see as I say dot, there are so many functions available in this class. So if I say get, here is a get function available. I can also say post, there is a post function, there is a put function, there is a patch function, and then delete function is also there. So all this is coming from rest assured library. So as of now I will just say get, and here I have to use the URL. So I will copy the URL or the endpoint. So I will copy the endpoint from here and I will paste it here, and I will also let me check very quickly. Let me check from here. I will go to reqres.in and get the get API request, this one, and this is the URL. I'll copy and paste it here, and that's it, and a semicolon at the end. Now this will run the get request. However, we need to get the response and also we want to display the response, and for that I'm going to use another class from rest assured, which is response, and I will use a variable. You can name you can give any variable name here, equals to. Again, if you see, I am getting an error under response. So if I hover over this error and I check, so here again you can see I have to import it from io.restassured.response. So I will click this and it has done the imports here, and now I will say response and a variable response equals to, and because Java is case sensitive, so this response and this response, these are two different things. So I will just make this equal to our this statement where we are running the get request, and now our response will be stored into this variable called response. And now using this response variable I can say response dot get status code, so I can get the status code of the response. I can also say response dot get time, I can get the time of the response, and to print it on console I have to use a print statement, and the print statement in Java is system.out.println, and the shortcut is you can press SYSO, you can type SYSO and then press Control spacebar on your keyboard, and this will auto complete the statement system.out.println. This is the statement we use to print on the console, and now I will just put this inside the brackets of the print statement. I'll put this here, and again I will have another print statement SYSO Control spacebar, and this get time as well I will put here, and that's it. Let me try to run this and I should be getting the status code and the time of this response. So I will do a right click and say run as, and let me check the configurations. So I should be having testng test here, and in case if you have added testng plugin in your Eclipse that we have already seen in the last session, you should be getting a option to run as testng test, and you can see I am not getting it because I have not yet annotated this function as a testng test, and this was actually step number 2 where we should be using at test annotation that is coming from testng. So just above the function declaration I will say at and say test, so that this function becomes a testng test, and you can see it is throwing an error. If I hover over the error, here I am getting the option to import from testng or JUnit. Now make sure at test is an annotation both in testng and JUnit, so you have to import from testng so that it becomes a testng test. So I will say import from testng, and you can also verify the import is from testng here. Now if I save this and do a right click and say run as, I am getting a option of testng test. Just in case even after this you do not get the option, you can go to run configuration, and here you can just click on testng and then click on new, and here you will get your class and you can browse to your class and then you can run as a testng test. But most probably you should be getting the option here if you have added the testng plugin and you have made your function as a testng test. So I will run as testng and let us see the output. So you can see this is running fine and it is printing the status code, which is 200, and the time in milliseconds, that is 958 milliseconds. If you go to the results of testng, you can see this is all pass. So we are able to run this. Now we can also get some other details from the response. I can say system.out.println response.get body, and to print in a readable format I will say dot as string. You can in fact just say response dot as string without using the body, that will also work fine. So this will also work fine, but let me just print it like this. I can also print, I can say response dot get status code, and we have status line as well. We already have status code here. If I want to get some particular header, I can say response dot get header, and I can give the header name. So let us say there is a content type header that should be coming in the response. I can print that, and similarly you can see a lot of things we can do once we have the response. So let me save and run this again, and this time I can directly use this run button. It will run as per our last configuration, which is testng. So I will run here, and you can see this is working fine. I have got the status code, time, and this is the body, and you can see the entire body is printed here. And then we have the status line, uh, and then we also have the content type printed here, application JSON. So everything is working fine. So we have already done step number 4 where we stored the response. Here we have stored the response and then we have printed the response data. Now we can also add assertions, and I can say something like assertion, or I can say assert equals, and here I can give actual and expected. So let's just say if I want to check the status code is 200, I can directly give it here like response.get status code, or I can store it separately. First I can say int, I am storing into an integer type of variable. I will say status code equals to response.get status code, and then I will use this status code here in place of the actual value, and the expected value is 200. So I'm checking the status code should be equals to 200. I will run this again and let us see the output. So this is working fine. If I go to the test-ng results, here it is working fine. Let's just say if I say it should be equal to 201, which is actually a failure, and if I run now, this should fail, and let me check the output. So this has failed, and you can see it shows the failure here also, and here if you see it says it was expecting 201 but it found 200, so therefore it was a failure. And this is how you can create a test. Now if you go to the rest assured website, which is rest assured, let me just go to Google and go to the website of rest assured. I will show you some examples that are given on the official website. So this is rest assured IO, which is the official website of rest assured, and here if I go to the docs and if I go to the getting started documentation, here we have already seen in the last session, here we have some getting started guide where we have the libraries that we have to add, and then if I go to the usage guide here, you can see some examples. So if I see here, scroll down and you can see some examples. So here you can see how these examples are shown. So this is one example of a get request. Here we are directly saying get, and we are saying then, and then we are saying body, and this particular element or parameter in the body should be equals to 5. There is this another example. Again we have a get, and we say after get the body and some particular parameters should have these items. So how to do this? This is something I will show you in the next session, how we can exactly create these kind of very quick tests. This is exactly what we are going to see in the in the coming session, and we have already done step number 6, that is run and verify. So we are able to create our first test in rest assured. In the coming session we will create some more tests and we will look at some more topics of rest assured. I hope this session was very useful for you. Thank you for watching.